this whole concept of East meets West, I mean, there's a lot to that narrative.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. You know, and again, if you go to America and turn on most of the television things, there's this East versus the West narrative. And people don't know why it's there. They don't know what's going on. I mean, I grew up in the 80s in America, and I was terrified of Russia. I used to have bad dreams as a kid because I thought we were going to get hit with nuclear missiles. I'm a little bit older than you. But we had this enemy we had never met that was the enemy because everyone told it was the enemy. I feel like that's what China is today. It's like, here's your enemy. They're doing all these things. They stand for this. We stand for that. And yet, there's a massive amount of people over there with their own culture. We're all humans. We all have great things we can communicate and create with each other. So talk to me about this like ultimate mission of yours. I mean, it is pretty ultimate if you think about it, right? And how hard it is or how challenging it is.
It's very challenging, especially, I would say, post-pandemic, right? 2010 through 2016, China was pouring in billions into Hollywood, billions into Silicon Valley, billions into Wall Street and real estate. And America was open arms, right? And I was able to build my businesses off of this arbitrage, this East-West transference of capital, wealth, and ideas. And then, of course, Trump came and created this conversation that's very polarized, that China is the enemy, the red dragon. And I don't fault him in certain aspects. The reality is, I've been in China since early 2000s, and Google, WhatsApp, Facebook, all that's been banned, right? For a reason, right? And so it lends to the question, why is TikTok not banned in the US if it's a Chinese-owned company, right? So to me, I go, fair is fair. It's fair game, right? And so I think in that aspect, when it comes to technological wars, censorship, politics, governments, there is real threats and there is real differences, right? But I look at China and US as two superpowers that have two very different worldviews, okay? US is about independence, right? Where China is about community, cohesiveness, oneness, unity of mind, values, purpose. So in Asia, similar to some might say Jewish communities or Italian communities, I always say like Chinese are the Asian Jews, or the Italians, because we're all about family, right? It's not about you. It's never about you. It's about us, right? And so when you grow up in an Asian family, do not dishonor your father or mother. We have this thing called 名字 or 面子. You have to show face. If you disrespect yourself, you're disrespecting the family, right? And so Asia in general, and specifically China, where Confucianism, filial piety, honoring your elders, is a intrinsic dispositional position of we are one. And everything is about the unity of the people, the culture, the values. And so for 5,000 plus years, China is literally called the Middle Kingdom. We are the center of the world. Nothing's changed. Wars, disruptions, industrialization, technological evolutions, China's not going anywhere. China's here to stay, and the values are more or less the same when it comes to filial piety, the unity of the family, us versus me, where Western world is me versus them. Right. It's always about the individual voice. And to me, it's not right or wrong. It's just your culture, right? So to me, it's just two very different value systems right, of how they live and how they do business and how they raise their children and how they look at education. I mean, look at China. Everything is surveillanced. Everything has AI. I mean, like, you want to talk about AI, China's like been there 10 plus years ago. Sense time, Face++, everywhere you go, you're tracked. Everything is quote unquote censored. You don't have issues like we have in the West where it's left versus right, Republican versus Democrat. None of that riffraff and nonsense in China. There's one party, you do as the party says, and if you veer off, well, you will be handled. And there's pluses and there's minuses to that, right? There is technically not freedom of speech, only according to the party. But the Chinese will look at America and go, you guys are a mess. It's going further and further apart, more and more disparate, more and more dislocated, where most of the world probably looks at America or the UK and says, wouldn't be surprised if there's another civil war, right? Because of social media, because of these AI algorithms that are just feeding you what you want to see or what it wants you to see, right? That's creating this dichotomy, right, between conservatives and liberals and the woke and those who are not or against it. So to me, I live in both. I live half time in Hong Kong and Asia. I live half time in Los Angeles and Hollywood. And I have to deal with both cultures and both perspectives. The reality is we are in a new Cold War. But it's not a Cold War of just nuclear bombs. It's a Cold War of economies and technologies, specifically chips. You read a book called Chip War. The battle against Taiwan is not because China needs Taiwan. Neither does Biden or Trump need Taiwan because they just want this little island of 25 million people. No, there's a little company that's the most important company in the world called TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor. That every device, electronic device in the world without a semiconductor TSMC chip cannot operate. Not your microwave, not your Tesla, not your camera, not your iPhone. Nothing can operate, not a nuclear missile, without this chip or these semiconductor chips and technology. That's why Taiwan's important. That's why there is a new Cold War that's both cyber, technological, and economical. And so it's ultimately not a battle of values, it's a battle of power, right? Who's going to control the technology that controls the world? And who's going to become the most powerful? Is it the East or is it the West? Or can there be some type of consensus, understanding, which is what I'm trying to do with Eastern Standard Times, and say, hey, this is how Asia views American politics. This is how Asia views North Korea. This is how Asia views what's happening in Myanmar. This is how Asia views, right, this situation versus only one perspective where it's only Fox, it's only CNN, it's only this view that's non-Asian. It's like coming to you and saying, hey, I'm gonna talk to you in Japanese this whole entire interview, and you're gonna be looking at me like, what? And that's how it is in Asia. They look at Western media and go, that's not how we are seeing it. That's not how we're experiencing it, right? And so to me, media is the apparatus and the medium and the platform to tell stories that create understanding between both cultures. So hopefully we find some type of middle ground and we can actually work together versus apart.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.